feeling like I'm Akademiks.
Actually, we should start there. Right? Because I do want to address like this Wack100 thing. You know, me and Wack did talk. We saw each other fight. And actually, maybe I called him, but not right now because I'm on like a little roll. I want to derail it. And I know sometimes I feel he derails the stream. I love Wack, though. But still. However, I want to be very clear. Oh, the first before I say that. Blueface, you got to stop being a bully, brother. You get what I'm saying? You know, Blueface, you're 6'5", like 270. You need to go fight Deontay Wilder. Okay? This idea that you're catching face, hey homies. That's cool, brother. I was watching NLE Choppa to say, NLE, if you're an idiot, you'll entertain that. There's nothing wrong with ducking a fight. Like, if I was that retarded nigga, little baby, I would be like, yo, bro, that nigga got a working brain and hand-eye coordination. I'm not fighting him. I'm good. But, of course, the ego of a street rapper sometimes will put yourself in precarious situations. You know what I mean? We all got to pick and choose our battles. You know what I mean? Like, it is what it is. I don't think Soulja Boy should be fighting Blueface. I don't think NLE Choppa should be fighting Blueface. In reality, Blueface one of them big-ass motherfucker. Like, you know, I'm not trying to evoke violence into this, but you don't fight this type of nigga. You ain't on the prison yard. What the fuck? Oh, let's meet up and squabble. No. You're going to meet up with something else. No. You know, Blueface just, I don't know if you think he was in an incubation system or, you know, when Goku used to go in the hyperbolic time chamber, he went to jail, he caught like 1,000 fades. Now he's out here trying to bully these guys. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. NLE, let's squabble. Dead homies. Blueface, you got to pick on somebody own sides, brother. Okay? Or go, you know, shit, we've seen you box professionally. Go fight, you know, since you love using them hands so much, go fight one of the professional fighters, right? I think even Swaggy P is going to fight soon. I got Blueface. Blueface, really, I think he can fight. Anyway, before I get to the topic of him and NLE, I do want to address, you know, this idea and what I spoke about with Wack100. It was clipped, I won't say that necessarily out of context, but people took a piece of what I said and they ran with these salacious titles to say, I am accusing Wack100 of completely robbing Blueface. Now, you know, I could probably play what I said, you know, just to make sure I'm holding myself accountable and not trying to like change the narrative. But also I want to play what Wack said in response to it. And maybe that's fair, right? Let's go. Akademiks, Blueface, Wack100. Let's see if we can find that clip. So I want to be very factual about it. Here we go. Was it this?
Wack100 has issued a warning, so I'm gonna play.
What the fuck? YouTuber with us. What the hell is this? Here we go. It's a conflict of interest. You know, I'm not gonna get in their business, but I always knew Blueface was pretty stupid. I'm gonna tell you why. Blueface is signed to Wack100 and managed by Wack100. Let me tell you how this works. When you sign to a label, they take at least half already. Then you're getting managed by the guy who owns the label. So of your 50% that you're getting, or less than 50%, he's still taking at least 20% of that too. It's double dipping. You get what I'm saying? So you never sign, you never get managed, or you don't have a management company owned by the people that also sign you. Okay. Now before I address and kind of like, not necessarily clean up what I meant or really fully explain, I do want to give Wack100 the opportunity. And he did respond. He responded here. Was it here?
Akademiks claims that you've been stealing money from Blueface.
Yeah, I got on his ass about that. That was crazy.
So for the record, he said since Blueface is signed to you on a music level and managed by you, that means that you're essentially taking like half of his money.
Here's the thing with Akademiks. When I talked to him, I said, have you ever done a contract with anybody musically?
Wack never said that to me, and I absolutely have. I literally have a joint venture, just like I have a joint venture, the Academy Records. It falls under 10K. Used to be under Capitol, and now they send me notice they're under Atlantic or AMG, okay, which is a newly formed thing. Elliot, which is the son of Lucian Grange. The deal I did was with the son of Lucian Grange, which is Elliot Grange. It's on 10K Projects. It's there. I'm signed to my own label, right? Which literally I had to sign that myself, and also I signed another person as well, and also I've offered contracts as well. But that's neither here nor there. Would I say I have more experience in Wack with doing contracts and stuff like that? I would say no, because Wack has worked with a lot more people, clearly.
No, I said, what are you talking about? Well, I'm looking at Finesse. Finesse's contract, he got 4 or 5 people. I would never allow that to happen with none of my clients because I know too many direct people.
But who is it? It's
Moneybag Yo.
Oh, so he originally signed
Mob Ties.
and then Mob Ties.
JPE, which is the dad. You got Atlantic as the mother company. So that's 4. And then him. You see what I'm saying? So his 20% is really probably 20% of a 40%, which is really like 8%. This is where Act gets shut down at. He said Blueface is signed to me, right? Blueface was signed to Cash Money West. Cash Money West is owned by who?
Birdman.
I just oversee that division. So what the fuck are you talking about?
Akademiks claims
The reason why Wack is really good is that he has a way with words, like any great media personality is. That's why I think he's one of the top media personalities. I want to make some corrections to what he's saying, and also probably help clearing up what I was saying. I don't know the full details of the business between Wack100 and Blueface. Anything I'm saying it in general, even though based on what we've heard publicly from Blueface's own mouth on interviews and even recently, it feels like what I said matched up with what was going on. I don't have the contracts. I haven't looked at Blueface's stuff, so I'm going off of what they have said publicly, what we perceive, and how that should be interpreted. Here's the very premise. The premise is this. If I do a contract, like put it like this, this happened with the Offset like QC thing. It's a reason why, well, let me use another analogy before I get to that. If me and 15 chat niggas get caught up in a RICO, hopefully we don't, right? It's a reason why it's a conflict of interest for your lawyer to be a lawyer of someone else. Why is it a conflict of interest? Because at a certain point, they might have to enter into a proffer status or whatever with the government that now you have to pick whose interest you're prioritizing. It's a conflict of interest for someone else. That's why people have separate attorneys. By the way, it's the reason why a judge would get recused in many situations. If a judge, who many judges used to be prosecutors and also had private practices as defense attorneys, if a judge previously, and by the way, I thought this helped out YSL Mondo, Fonnie Willis previously represented YSL Mondo, who's self-acknowledged as a co-founder of YSL, when she was doing private practice in between one of her prosecutorial gigs, and she represented him for a gun case. Clearly, who knows how that representation went? She may have had a lot of knowledge from attorney-client privilege. Now, because she represented him, it would be unethical of her to then prosecute him, given the fact that she also has information that it should be only between them. Now, technically, that should be a thing, but what would normally happen is that prosecutor would recuse himself. Doesn't mean that YSL Mondo could never be charged. No. What it means is that to not have a conflict of interest, you don't want someone who previously was with you to be prosecuting you, because now it puts you in a disadvantaged position. So whether it's a judge that used to be an attorney that represented you, or a prosecutor that used to be a defense attorney that represented you, those people would what they call recuse themselves. It's a conflict of interest. In business, if I'm trying to sign someone, like I was trying to, and I eventually did, I successfully signed someone to the Academy Records back then. They wanted to use my lawyer. My lawyer helped me get the deal. My lawyer got 5% of my overall deal for the Academy Records. He is incentivized to make sure me, who's going to be the guy who's signing a bunch of people, I got the budget, I'm the guy. He wants me to get the most of money because he's going to get the most of money, right? So it wouldn't be ethical if I am signing a young kid and I said to the kid, you need a lawyer, but use my lawyer. that lawyer's not going to go in there and say, hey, let me get the deal really in the favor of this guy when I'm already eating with Ack over here. He's just going to get me the best deal. Do you understand? It's a conflict of interest. It's a pretty simple thing to acknowledge. Here was my understanding of what Blueface contract and situation was, right? And Wack does a really sleight of hand right here, and I want to point it out.
What is it? It's
Money bag, yo.
Oh,
Contract.
Here we go.
Anybody, music.
his money.
Here's the thing with Akademiks. When I talked to him, I said, have you ever done a contract with anybody musically? No. I said, what are you talking about? Well, I'm looking at finesse. Finesse is
Now, even though the conversation that I had stemmed from finesse, I was talking about a particular part. It's not about the 5 people in the contract. James Prince, the father's, James Prince Sr., he's listed in the contract, but really he's a manager. It becomes a conflict of interest. That's where I got this idea of conflict of interest. If he's supposed to be managed by the father, but signed to the son, why in the contract does the father, who is quote unquote going to be that's already a conflict of interest. You're managed by the father of the nigga you're signed to. Come on, like these are like kind of simple things, right? Like we're not like we don't got to be Aristotle or something, right? But whatever. Let's say that happens. When reading the contract, the father was also included as someone that was going to take percentage. Well, to me, that's double dipping. How are you the manager? And how are you also in the contract as the person that will be getting some type of proceeds from the music as if you were a label or, and this is the important part, a production company. Now, I'm going to explain to you a little bit of music shit because Wack is going to overtalk it right here. Listen to Wack.
his contract. He got 4 or 5 people. I would never allow that to happen with.
Okay, so I explained that part already, right? It's not about necessarily the amount of people. It's that some people are doing 2 different roles, but they're all claiming percentage. That's a problem.
None of my clients, because I know too many direct people.
But who is it? It's
And also the problem, even if you're saying, because somebody could make they could make the argument to say, well, JPE, which is James Prince Entertainment, he's in the contract because, you know, he's going to do management stuff, but he's just getting his money from the label. Well, no, you could do a letter of direction. And even then, that still piggybacks the artist because you're saying that you have now signed a manager for the duration of your record deal. That seems more than a manager. That seems like a partner. A manager, you should be able to fire whenever you want to fire him based on whatever deal you have. Now, maybe that includes, hey, you're going to be my manager for this entire record deal. Okay, cool, if that's what you want. But if your manager is baked in your deal that even if he's not working, he still gets paid, that seems like a partner, not a manager. A manager gets 20% off the top when he does services for you. But if your music does well, you know, and you had this deal, and whatever that comes from this deal, if he just gets paid no matter what, that sounds like a partner or an investor. But again, I'm trying to show you the sleight of hand of, you know, Wack speaking as if people don't understand, like the music industry is so complicated.
Money bag, yo.
Oh, so he originally signed
Mob Ties.
and then Mob Ties.
JPE, which is the dad. You got Atlantic as the mother company. So that's 4. And then him. You see what I'm saying? So his 20% is really probably 20% of a 40%.
Okay, and this is where Wack does the talking. You know when Wack starts doing this shit, like, well, he got to be right,
Which is really
and he's kind of right here about finesse.
like 8%. This
But now the conversation comes back to him and Blueface.
is where Act gets shut down at. He said Blueface is signed to me, right? Blueface was signed to Cash Money West.
Okay. Now, this is, you know, I'll acknowledge I don't know the full details or all the intricacies of his business, but I'm going off what I always heard Wack say. So Cash Money West is Birdman's company, right? That's kind of ran or overseen by Wack100, or was, I don't know if currently. But just like how Atlantic, Uzi's quote-unquote technically signed to, Uzi's really signed to Generation Now. That's called a production company. Wack100 is leaving out a step. yeah, Blueface is signed to Cash Money West, but my understanding is that he's signed to Cash Money West through 100 ENT, which is Wack's production company. So technically, Blueface is signed to you, and you signed his rights to Cash Money. Now, I could be wrong. I haven't seen his contracts. And, you know, shit, you want me to go back on my trusted site? I could go back on my trusted site and pull up Blueface's name, right? We could pull up his name and, you know, give me 1 second. I don't know. Let me go find some tracks. Hold on. I'll put it on screen when I find. What was like his biggest track? Is it like, okay, here we go with this. Why does it say record label unavailable? All right, it's okay. What I'm gonna do is let me do here, and let me just go to Spotify yet again, right? So when I go to Spotify, and let's go to Blueface. This is gonna, you know, they usually are accurate and will print wherever it's coming through, which you can figure out label information there, right? So I don't know. His latest single is called Vibes, right? Vibes. Rich the Kid, DDG, and Blueface. I don't think this is. I think this is Rich the Kid's song, low key. What's the last? I want to see the last Blueface solo song to be able to see. Better featuring Stunner Girl. Okay, let's look at that. Now, you see what you see right here that says 2026 100 ENT? That's what Spotify is acknowledging the label to be. So when they're going to pay out for this song, even though it's only 142,000 views, they're going to pay 100 ENT. That's Wack100's company. Now, granted, from what I'm hearing and kind of like, you know, I'm kind of figuring it out, it doesn't seem like Cash Money is in the picture anymore. So I get it. Now the production company stands alone. So it's just through Wack, right? Now, but right now, you know, and this would be my argument to Wack. Your last song is dropped through a quote-unquote record label that you own. How are you not his label? He could just upload this to TuneCore without you. If you're not his label, it shouldn't say 100 ENT. It could say on Schoolyard Crip. When it says this, it's because it's going up through you as a label. That's how it works. You get what I'm saying? It doesn't. Okay, now let's go off this assumption that Cash Money's not involved in this one, but maybe in the past one. So let's go back. Let's go back to 2024. We're going to pick a random song, but it has to be a Blueface song. We want to see how these things came out. Baby Mama. Okay, this is 2023. Perfect. Baby Mama Drama. Let's click on this song. What the fuck is this? 88601 Records DK. Okay. So what this is telling me now, right? What this is telling me, at least currently, let's go to BDD. Like, again, I'm just trying to figure out label. Okay, what label is this? 88601. 88601 Records. When I look on the song stats for this, I could tell whose label is registered to. It's distributed through DistroKid. And they've dropped TK, Cowboy, Rich the Kid, DDG. It says related artists, but it looks like it's mainly a DDG. No, not DDG. I mean, it's a Blueface label. Okay, so I don't know. That could be something else. And that's where I'm down to stand to say if I'm wrong, right? But going back, still in 2023. Oh, hold on, sorry, Chad. In 2023, I want to make sure this is big. Pause. It says 100 ENT. I don't know. This song is a big song. So Spotify would pay out 100 ENT. Now, whether Wack considers 100 ENT a production company or a record label, it's the same thing. Usually, just colloquially, people think that the record label is the funding party, which is Cash Money if Cash Money is attached. But he's technically signed to, or normally, because I don't know what deal they really have going on, but he's signed to you. Like, for example, if Atlantic Records drops Uzi and Uzi drops a song without Atlantic, it's still gonna say Generation Now. He's signed to Generation Now. That's it. If Blueface was not signed to Wack, 100 ENT would not be on his music. Why is your record label on his music? So that's why I'm coming up with that. I haven't seen their contract, just to be clear, but I'm going off of this because let's go find some other songs. I don't know. Blue Racks, This Is Better Days. Okay, This Is Better Days. Is this one, let's get to come outside. Tell them boys get out the way. Yeah, right here. Outside Better Days. This is 2021. Let's click on this. Here we go. Fifth Amendment. Okay, so this one. So what it appears to me is that, I don't know, maybe he's signing these like single deals. It might be single deals. See, I don't know. And this one I stand to be wrong. Because if we keep seeing different labels, now some of this label shit is because of Bobby Billions. So Bobby Billions is on Empire and whatever. And E1, I think that's the one who distributed Blueface's record. But I'm just going off of what we're seeing. That's it. That's it. So sometimes Blueface is dropping records coming out through what seemingly is Wack's. Where was Tatiana under? Let me just look at all these big songs. Here we go. Fuck. Why can't it? Shit, Tatiana. I'm trying to figure it out. Hold on. Tatiana. Hold on. Give me a second. I'm just trying to look at the label information. Okay, so in 2018, there is no Wack on this, right? There's no Wack. And that's the first album. Then Dirtbag drops. And that's on Cash Money. So Dirtbag has Cash Money on it. So seemingly, 100 ENT is not involved yet. Then Famous Crip Reloaded drops. And who drops that? Fifth Amendment. Well, they own the rights to it, so they would obviously re-drop it. But later on, it looks like, so again, I'm down to amend, I'm not that egotistical. What it appears is that Wack100's label came in after, looked like Cash Money does no longer do business with Wack. It's very clear, right? Like they literally was on the second album. We don't see them since, right? So they were here for the Dirtbag album. And after that, which by the way was a pretty good album. I like that song Bleed It. Bleed It was dope. They had Daddy with Richard Kidd. But after that, we're going to see like Wack's label, which if you're asking me, maybe single deals. So I might be digressing, Maybe it's not this big ass record contract that, slave deal that some people might picture that Wack got him in. But Wack is getting these single deals for him, clearly. Right, some of these songs I never heard. Patience. Where does this come out of? Yeah, Fifth Amendment seems to be one of those. So anyway, it doesn't matter if it's on all the records or not. The principle is going to stand, right? It's a conflict of interest if your label is also your manager. Now, I spoke to Wack, and Wack said, yo, if I'm operating as a production company and we take something and we get a bag from a label, I don't double dip. And I want to be clear, Wack said he doesn't double dip. Which that would be unethical, even though he technically could, if he's on paper as management. Because if you're on paper as management for me, Akademiks, it would mean if Spotify comes with 5 million, you take 2 million, or not 2 million, but 20%, right? Which is 1 million, right? Which is, okay, cool. Then if Spotify gives an advance, you would get 20% of whatever the advance is. But if you also get an advance yourself, that's some partner shit. So that's why it's double dipping. So, I hope you guys understand. I think it's pretty simple. Yo, your manager can't be a label, bro. Like, you pick one. My nigga, either you're my label or my manager. Now, granted, does Blueface and Wack seemingly may have like this different relationship where maybe Wack is just hustling and getting him like single deals in a bag? Like, he might get a song that starts popping off and Wack goes to like E1. So it look like he's an independent artist. He gets a song popping off. Wack goes to E1 and says, yo, do you want, Bleed It, or you want this particular song? They say, yeah, we'll give $1 million for it. And Wack does that through his company, which is now the production company for that one song. But necessarily he doesn't have Blueface in a long-term recording contract. I guess. But generally, the point should not be dismissed. Your record label and your manager shouldn't be the same person. Ever. It's not a Wack100 thing. It's not a Blueface thing. It's for any artist. The moment you sign to a nigga, if he says, yo, let me manage you, be like, yo, now I'm going to get my manager over there. That's all good. Your manager should only think about your interest, not the interest of maybe a label. Okay, so, all right, we're done with that. And we are now here and